One of my favorite questions is, what is your favorite book? And I think that there's no better way to learn about someone rather than through what they decide to dedicate their many hours. So I thought that maybe I could share with you my favorite books. The first book is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I read this because it won the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I heard that it was a modern retelling of David Copperfield. I actually haven't read David Copperfield. I figured this would be an easier, accessible way to kind of dip my toe into the story. We follow a young boy named Damon. He lives in a town that is suffering from the epidemic of addiction. It is a intense, long and worthwhile read. It is slow at times, almost excruciating. It is worth every single word. Every single letter was just put together so beautifully, and you follow this young boy through his childhood to his adulthood, and you become attached, and it is harrowing but incredible. Next we have The Promised Neverland. This isn't necessarily a novel, but I fell in love with this story. We follow a bunch of school children as they're getting raised in this boarding school, and they quickly come to terms and find out that everything is not as it seems. I watched the anime and fell in love with it. Another manga that I really enjoy is Ascendance of a Bookworm. This just holds a really special place in my favorites. Next we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I'm actually a barista, so this was the most cozy book for me. This is just like a cup of Earl Grey tea and a cinnamon scroll if it was put into words. It is about a surprisingly relatable orc who is just trying to bring the world coffee and cozy vibes. She has given up her career of slaying and she decides to settle down. This is the best book to read if you are in a book slump. I've already reread this twice now. Both times have been when I've been in a slump, and both times it has ripped me right out of it. Next is Upstream by Mary Oliver. Honestly, anything by Mary Oliver is inserted in this instance, but I do have a special spot for Upstream. Mary Oliver has this incredible way of bringing back someone's childlike curiosity and whimsy into the world. I read this in the early days of spring, and it really set the tone for a completely hedonistic and lovely spring. Mary Oliver talks about nature, life, and what it is to be human in the most beautiful way possible, and all I can say is read this, read a page, a poem every day in the months of spring, and you will not regret it. Next is The Houseguest by Amparo Davila. This is a collection of stories. It is a small little novel and it is brilliant. In each story there lingers this kind of grim, dark energy, a kind of catastrophic foreboding almost. They are kind of weird and unforgettable. Something that I find very interesting and really enhanced my reading was learning about Amparo's upbringing and why she writes the way she writes. She grew up near a gravesite and she recalls the grim and dark memory of carts of dead bodies getting rolled past her bedroom window, and that kind of coincided with her writing. It was a brilliant book and I enjoyed every second. The next book is Weight of the Earth, the tape journals of David Wojnarowicz. David was a brilliant artist. He was slowly dying from AIDS and he decided to record himself. It was a tape recording and he was just speaking out loud, and that was then transcribed and then put into this right here. I have underlined majority of this book. I was incredibly surprised with the way he spoke. It feels like it was written because he speaks like poetry, and he talks about his struggles with love, friendship, making art, the isolation of making art. And I have lent this out to a friend. I think everybody should read this if you want to create art, if you are often left isolated on your own regard. It is brilliant, and I plan to pick up more books of his. The next book is, of course, and that is Perfume by Patrick Susskind. A boy is born in a fish market with an extreme sense of smell. His obsession of perfumes becomes murderous, and it is just a wild ride of a book. Next is The Idiot by Dostoevsky. I was kind of surprised that I was gravitating more so towards The Idiot rather than Crime and Punishment, and I think that's just because Crime and Punishment was my first ever Dostoevsky novel. When I read The Idiot, it really solidified my love for Dostoevsky's writing. I think about this book more than I think about Crime and Punishment. Our main character, Mishkin, is kind of like this Christ-like figure. He is naively good in a world that is inherently bad. The start of the novel, it is 600 pages. The start shows Mishkin in a carriage car, and he is in rags, thin clothes, and he is not prepared for the cold and harsh reality of where he's going and just what's going to happen to him. I have never finished a Dostoevsky book without thinking I got 1% understanding out of what was there, and it is the kinds of books that you reread over and over again, and I'm excited for the day that I decide to pick this back up. So these are my favorite books at the moment. It is a tentative list. It will change, it will be modified, but this is just the books that I gravitate towards for my favorites. And yeah, thanks.